Check out this contraption I built for the chickens for their water. It's right there. The rest of this is just like temporary shelter thing. But look at that contraption, it's awesome. They're working on learning how to drink right now. But here's how you make this. So with all these parts, what we're gonna do, we're gonna build a chicken waterer. These are like nipples, I guess. You get them at Tractor Supply Company. That's regular 3/4 inch PVC pipe and a toilet hose, an adapter to connect to the hose. That's a T and some extra parts there. We'll go over that. And a glue set for PVC. A toilet fill valve, that was $7, and then Charlotte pipe. It's really important if you're gonna do this project that you use Charlotte pipe. That way you can get these tops to seal the deal. Regular 4-inch PVC, it's super thick, which will work, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So this Charlotte pipe is really awesome. And here's the caps. I couldn't get the caps at Home Depot. I had to go to Lowe's for those, just so you know. Here it is in action. Look at those cute little buggers. Look at them. They're checking it out, watching it drip. Oh, there's something to get us some water. Oh, cool. Yeah, I use duct tape. You'll see why later. You can see the nipples are dripping water. That's to attract the chicks so they can see it. If you loosen those up, the water will just drip out. You can tighten them up later and they'll seal it. But you have to teach these birds how to drink, especially from a contraption like this, because they're just not that bright. They're bird-brained. Thanks, Jolene. Let's see, so here I'm cutting this, you can see on the far left side, I cut about 1.5 inch piece of that PVC already. And then right here, I'm just splitting what's left in half. Now this is in super high speed, which is awesome. I do work this fast in case you're wondering. This is just the primer, cleaning up all the pipe before you glue it all together. Super self-explanatory. If you've ever done any kind of sprinkler work or anything like that, that's all this is. Just primering all the glue points. Here's my Joe Rogan haircut. You can see I'm all sweaty. If you haven't seen that video, you should check it out too. It's, I think, funny. So here I'm just gluing all the pieces together. Again, super self-explanatory. I don't think there's much to talk about right here. So I'll just watch with you. Notice how I'm twisting the pipes. You set it on the female or the male side of the pipe, and then you twist it in. That gets a good seal on the with the glue and the PVC. So this toilet valve was the cheapest one they had at Home Depot, and it fit perfect inside this 4-inch Charlotte pipe, and that's the goal. There's the bottom, all kind of cool. You might be able to see kind of how it's all going together. This part's, to me, probably one of the harder parts. You got to get this lined up so that the float will move freely. The float's got to be able to move up and down without getting interference from the side of that Charlotte pipe. Otherwise, the water will continue to run or it will not run. So I marked it right there. You can see the little tiny mark. Right here, I'm just getting the little plastic nut to make a good marking on it. I'm gonna take this outside, drill that hole in it, bring it on back, and make sure everything's gonna fit. What I should have done is I should have done a dry fit on the entire project, but I glued all that, the water arm together a little too early. I was excited. There's another thing I do wish I had done. the portion of that arm that goes into the charlotte pipe, I need to get a nut, a plastic nut, and put on the inside of the pipe to hold that tighter and to prevent leaks. It has a little bit of a drip right now. The project's kind of done, but I'm gonna put a plastic nut on the inside of that. I think that'll definitely help a lot. Another thing, where I drilled a hole in the charlotte pipe to put the T in, I should have gone down further. I mean, it's not a big deal at all, but I could have dropped that hole in the charlotte pipe down, and you'll see that here in a second. I'll point it out. Right now I'm just fitting the bolt float valve in, tightening that up. Right there, see how it's not aligned? You just reach in there, twist it, it's lined up, make sure it moves freely, and then crank that nut down tight. It's all moving freely, perfect. Let's see, don't need that yet. That fits on there, but it's time to attach the arm. So I'm going exactly opposite of the valve there, just to make sure there's no interference. And like I said, I should have cut this hole down on the charlotte pipe. If you look at that, I could have cut that hole down towards the bottom, probably another 3/4 of an inch or something. I did a double O-ring on this. I thought that would be enough. It's not. So I'm gonna go and get a plastic nut and put on the inside of the charlotte pipe to hold the arm tight. So that it screws in pretty easy. That works out. And I thought it would be tight enough to keep the water from dripping, because it's not a pressure. Remember, there's no pressure on this side of the entire project, but it's gonna need a plastic nut to keep it tight. Here I'm just marking kind of spacing where I want to put these nipples. It's not a big deal. I've had as many as 40 chickens in my yard with 6 of these little nipples, and that's plenty. So I figured on this one I'd just go with 4. It's, of course, plenty. Someone's texting. I could answer that while this is going. It's just measuring stuff. So I just wanted even spacing and all that. It literally doesn't matter at all. So you take this out. I set it on on a little brick wall I have in the backyard, a little retaining wall type thing. Drilled the holes in it, and now I'm just cleaning those out to make a smooth edge. Because on those little nipples, there's a little tiny rubber O-ring. So if that edge right there is nice and clean, that O-ring will seal, which of course is what you want. So I clean each of those holes with my little utility knife, and they're all set. Next, if these little nipples, when you screw those into your deal, if they're a little bit loose, well, let me explain this. So that's a brass pipe nipple. It has the exact same thread pattern as the little chicken feeder nipples, the water nipples. So I ran that into each of the into the PVC pipe. PVC pipe can be kind of tough, so I didn't want to damage the feeder nipples, so I pre-threaded them. You can use Teflon tape, and I ended up using Teflon tape. There's that rubber O-ring. I used Teflon tape on a couple of them because they had a little bit of a drip and I wanted a tighter fit. Remember, this isn't a pressure side, this is just gravity feed on this side of the valve. The toilet float valve, the hose side is the pressure side. this side is the no pressure side. It's just gravity. It's kind of weird because you're going from a yard hose to the toilet valve hose, which is that right there. So that little adapter is really important, and you need, I ended up getting a swivel as well because I couldn't find the valve that I really needed. That's male to male. You need a male to female. So I just got a little swivel. You'll see that later in the video. Let's go hook it up. So I've got a little patch of grass right there that my lawnmower doesn't get to, and a digging, call it a digging stick, I don't know. And of course I'm gonna duct tape it. Duct tape is awesome. This is temporary, so I made this for my little chicks. I'm just gonna move them around the yard so they can get used to being outside and all that. At night I box them up to keep them safe from predators and things, but in the daytime I put them out. So all that tall grass right there, that little square patch I'm standing in, that's for the chicks. So I'm duct taping that. You can mount this to any kind of pole. Here's the swivel package. If you have a regular coop, you can mount this with some plumber's tape or like an 8-inch tie type thing. There's a million ways you could use baling wire. Who doesn't love baling wire? Baling wire would do it. Tighten all that up, and then as we get ready, I just want to final check things. I go turn on the water. Here you'll see the hose move right there. It's filling up with water. So now I'm waddling back to look at the thing to make sure it's working right. Let's see. Here we go. So now it's filling up. Obviously, it's kind of self-explanatory. There's some adjustments on that. I just put the float all the way at the top so it would hold the maximum amount of water. I could probably cut another 4 inches or so off of the entire height of that Charlotte pipe, but it doesn't matter. Right here, I'm just, if you manipulate that little tip, that'll get the water to flow. So I do that with each of them to get the water flowing. Once the water's flowing, then you're all set. Another thing I had to do was I had to drill a hole because it creates a vacuum. So you've got to drill a hole in the upper top. Is this exciting? It works. So you've got to cut a little hole in the top of the Charlotte pipe like this, just to drill a hole anywhere. That way it doesn't create a vacuum. Then you can put your cap on. That keeps critters out, keeps the dirt and debris out to let all the valves and everything work properly. There you have it. So on the top, the very end of those little nipples, I mean, this is just too exciting to not watch. The bubbles were from the PVC pipe, and it worked. So that's all you need. So we've got the pressure side on the hose, and now from here to the chickens, it's gravity. So it's just awesome. Cool little project. I'll put the dollar amount together. I think it was no more than like 30 bucks. So if you loosen the very end of those little nipples, actually hold on one second. I'm gonna pause this right there. If you reach on the bottom here, you can twist this off. And if you loosen that up, the water will drip, okay? I have it dripping right now so the chicks can see that. And you have to force them to drink because they don't know what's going on. Here's the inside of it. It's just a little ball and a seat. So you have the nipple that fits in there, you have the ball, then you have the tip, and then you have the cap. That fits right in there. So currently, when we get back to the video, right there's just finger tight, that's all it needs to be. I've loosened those nipples up so they're super loose, okay? Now remember that little ball as the chicken, this works for adults as well. As it touches that, it lifts the ball and allows water to flow around it, and then it just drips out, okay? So right now I have it loosened up so the water is continually dripping, and then that'll get the chick's attention and they'll start to go for it, especially when they're thirsty. Then once they know that this works as a drinker, you can tighten it up and it'll stop dripping. Let's get back to the video. Here we go. You can see they're looking at it, trying to figure out what's going on. It's pretty hot today, so they're all hiding in the shade as well. They do not know what's going on. I think they're what, 11 or 12 days old or something right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a couple of them. There we go, they're starting to see it. If you grab a couple of them and force their beak up against that little nipple, and they'll start to realize they can get water from it, then, you know, chickens learn by example. One or two will start to drink and the others will follow suit. They are stubborn though, like little teenagers. That was their dad. Some of them really do not want to participate in this program. In fact, most of them, clearly. I promise I'm holding them loose. I'm not squeezing the life out of them. They'll learn slowly but surely. This one catches on pretty quick. So this bird will know to return to get a drink. The other birds will start to kind of follow and say, all right, well, this will work. And that's how they learn. There's the last one. This one kind of gets it as well. It's a great way to get water constantly to your chickens without having to refill the bucket. They do this with horses and stuff, obviously a bigger scale. But this, like I said, it was super cheap. I'll have to get the receipts together and put in the comments what it actually cost and all that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and share, all that fun stuff. Ring the bell.